This week on What in the World is Going On, Amnesty International says Israel practices apartheid against Palestinians in West Bank, Gaza, Israel. That's the headline. Stay tuned, friends. The Times of Israel reported that yesterday, February 1st, informing us that in a 278-page report leveled against Israel within its borders in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, Amnesty International on Tuesday said that Israel has maintained a system of oppression and domination over Palestinians going all the way back to its establishment in 1948, one that meets the international definition of apartheid. They further went on to say that the USA, the European Union and its member states, and the UK, but also those states that are in the process of strengthening their ties, such as some Arab and African states, must recognize that Israel is committing the crime of apartheid and other international crimes. Amnesty International further went on to say that the global community must stop supplying Israel with weapons and military assistance, calling on states to institute and enforce a ban on products from Israeli settlements. Then, Amnesty International's Secretary General Agnes Callamard, she said in a statement released yesterday that Israel racially discriminates against Palestinians, whether they live in Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the rest of the West Bank or Israel itself. Palestinians are treated as an inferior racial group and systematically deprived of their rights. Israel's cruel policies of segregation, dispossession, and exclusion across all territories under its control clearly amount to apartheid. Friends, Amnesty International, in their report, also favors the return of Palestinian refugees to their former homes in the land of Israel, which, by the way, have grown from 600,000 to 800,000 people who fled in the 1948 War of Independence. By the way, they fled at the command of the Arab armies who were ready to invade and crush this newly formed Jewish state and really finish what Hitler started. And that group that fled, those 600,000 to 800,000, have now grown to about 6 million refugees. And they're left in these squanderish refugee camps to make Israel look like the villain. What's amazing is that the same amount or more of Jewish people fleeing Arab lands at the same time are denied the very same rights. Come on, Amnesty International, do your homework. Furthermore, friends, the policies of Israel are the furthest thing from being apartheid. Israel grants equal citizenship to all its people. The Arab people can vote in Israel. They can have members and parties in Israel's parliament, the Knesset. And if you want to know why there's all the checkpoints and why there are walls that have been built hindering Palestinian movement, well, just look at the history of the Intifadas, and one will quickly see the need for such security barriers. Israel also has given land for peace numerous times in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip. And by the way, when Israel gave Gaza up in 2005 and removed some of its 8,800 Jewish settlers from there, some of them by the IDF because they refused to leave, but Israel totally withdrew. They gave the whole land in 2005 to the Palestinians and said, here you go. And in exchange for that, what did the Palestinians do? Well, they voted for Hamas, a terrorist organization, to rule over them, which has resulted in some 21,000 rockets and missiles raining down on the Jewish people since 2005. And yet, Amnesty International calls out Israel in a 278-page report. You know what? Amnesty International began in 1961. Why was there no cry against the Jordanians who occupied the West Bank from 48 to 67 as they banned the Jewish people from East Jerusalem and destroyed their synagogues and desecrated their graveyards? No. Instead, Amnesty and the world continues to gang up on Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East. And in doing so, friends, they are playing right into Satan's hand. And woe unto the nations. For friends, when you come against God's chosen people, you are coming against the apple of his eye. And as Zechariah wrote some 2,500 years ago in the second chapter, surely God will shake his hand against those that come against his people. And so woe unto them. And so, friends, in closing, as Foreign Minister Yair Lapid says, he says, Israel isn't perfect, But we are a democracy committed to international law, open to criticism, with a free press and a strong and independent judicial system. And so, friends, with that, and until next time, this has been What in the World is Going On with the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry. Let us continue to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Have a good night, everyone.